Style Printmakers. I'm here just to show you a home studio setup so you can get an idea of how you can lay things out in your own home studio as you set that up. In case you need to pivot to online or if you need to stay home for some reason, you'll need to be able to print at home. First of all, you need a level, flat surface. I have a table that I built here. This is about 3 feet wide by about 2 feet deep. You can go even a little bit smaller than that. You can oftentimes make do even with like 2 feet by 1 feet. I have a special coating on this so that I can get a little bit of ink on the table and clean it up. It's also a work table, so I'm not worried about it. But if you're working on a nicer table that you can't get ink on, you'll want to lay your newsprint out, or you could get a plastic tablecloth that you would lay down and take off with each one. And then you'll need your brayer, whatever brayer you have. You'll need some kind of baren, and this is an actual real baren. You can also use things like wooden spoons work really well. Even sometimes I've made do in a pinch with a regular spoon. We've had students in the past use like the bottom of a glass jar. Anything really hard and smooth will work as a baren. And then you'll need at least one palette knife. It's nice to have a couple. I like mixing ink with a bigger one. If you have two, it's really handy because you can use one for every color that you're using then. In this case, I'm using 2 colors today, which is why I had 2. And then you'll need your ink. And I've got little miniature versions of the Akua ink that we have in the lab. You will want to, this semester, acquire some small containers, and then you can scoop out ink into these small containers to take home to your home studio. And then I also have a jar of the Mag Mix here. You'll learn about that as we get into color mixing later in the semester. And then I use just a regular disposable spoon to scoop out the Mag Mix. We use palette knives here with our inks. And then you'll also need your plate. I have my plate here. I have my newsprint, and you'll need your printing paper. You can use any kind of lightweight paper. This is a Kitakata here. We use a lot of mulberry as well. We have mulberry packs on your supply list. What you want to use exactly is up to you. The Stonehenge in general is too thick to get enough pressure. It's not impossible, but it's really thick to get enough pressure. In terms of tearing your paper, I like to use just a regular plain old ruler without a cork backing for tearing my paper. Works really, really great. It doesn't work so well on Stonehenge. And then lastly, you want some cleanup materials. So I just use disposable paper towels in my home studio. This is dish soap with water. And then I also have another spray bottle with just plain water in it. You can do whatever works for you. Some people like to have wet wipes. Something like that works fine too. In terms of your setup, you want your ink on one, kind of off to one side. This will be my printing area, and then I use whatever surface I can to dry my prints on. Your prints will take between as little as 30 minutes and as much as usually 24 hours if you haven't over inked them. So I already here have my inks mixed and laid out. We will have an ink mixing and printing demos, but I wanted to show you really quickly just how it all lays out in a general way so you can get an idea of this as you start to set up your home studio. So in terms of the size of your plexiglass, the bigger a piece of plexi that you have, the more you can spread out your ink. If it's a smaller piece, it just means that you won't have as much spread out area. When I'm working on small things, I usually use something about this size, but I also have a bigger piece as well. So I'm going to bring my plate out. And I'm going to start inking up. When you're inking with Akua ink, you want to err on the side of under inking right at the beginning. It's mostly because it's really easy to over ink. When you put down your brayer, you always need to put it down so it doesn't rest on the brayer. Those little feet. Now, under your lino block, after you've inked, you'll oftentimes have a little bit of ink that you've gotten on your table, and you want to clean that up before you lay your paper down. Alternatively, you could just move this to a different spot. So this is my plate. I've already torn my paper down. I'm going to gently press it down. Grab my Baren and start applying pressure. You will find that different items that you use as a Baren push differently. And it's also related to how much ink is actually on your plate. This is just a proof, so this is just giving me an idea for what I am printing. And voila, just a proof. It's not perfect. It's just giving me an idea. Now this kind of gives you an idea of your layout. I will then lay this down here and let that dry.